Hello and welcome to this very special show. Ion Exchange presents Water, Act Today for Tomorrow, partnered by ET Now. Now, 22nd March is celebrated as World Water Day every year. It was instituted in 1993 by the United Nations with the aim to highlight the importance of water. Now, did you know, human beings, we can go for 60 days without food, but we won't last more than 3 days without water. That is the importance of water, this finite, irreplaceable resource. And now, more than ever before, it's become so much more important to conserve, to manage, to preserve water. And so, on World Water Day, I'm in conversation with a special expert who'll talk to us about how we can conserve and manage water, and who'll also talk to us about the importance of groundwater. Because why groundwater? Well, because this year's theme of World Water Day is in fact groundwater, making the invisible visible. So allow me to introduce my speaker. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Sharma, the CMD at Ion Exchange India Limited. Mr. Sharma, thank you so much for joining me here today. When we talk about World Water Day, it's also about supplementing or the Sustainable Development Goal number 6 of the United Nations, which is water and sanitation for all by 2030. The government is also doing a lot with this, with their initiatives like Har Ghar Jal, and also making India an ODF-free country. Your thoughts on these government initiatives?
You see, water is life, and it's very important for the existence of human being. Unfortunately, in our country, the safe drinking water is not available to many millions of people. So that's why this SDG 6 goal is very important for the whole world, but more importantly for our country. And our Prime Minister has taken a very bold step in this direction, although the SDG goal 6 is to be implemented by 2030, but he has put the guidelines that it should be done in by 2024. So water is one of the reasons, contaminated water is one of the reasons for bad health or health problems. So that all can be taken care once you have drinking water. And if you go to the rural areas, it's unbelievable the amount of effort people have to make to get drinking water. Sometimes they're walking up to 3 to 4 kilometers to fetch a bucket of water. Now all this will be facilitated by this scheme once they start getting water at their doorstep.
More thing, Mr. Sharma, is this year's theme of the World Water Day is groundwater, making the invisible visible. Can you talk to us a little bit about about groundwater? What is the importance of groundwater?
Yeah, as it says, groundwater invisible, and I think most importantly, everybody should know that groundwater is the source for 50% of the population of the world for drinking, 40% for agriculture, and 1/3 of industry runs in the world with groundwater. But in India, the statistics are totally different. We have 85% of rural population depending on groundwater, 60% of our agriculture, and 40% of our industry. So it's a huge source for the existence of human being on this earth. So that's why it's very important to manage this resource. It's being abused because of the sheer high consumption, over extraction, plus pollution, and the kind of climate change, which is also creating a lot of stress, droughts, and sometimes there is too much of water. Rains are going, cycles are getting disturbed. So it's very important that this source is getting the spotlight in this year. Yes, this is your major source, and you must learn to manage it, in a more responsible way.
So you shared some statistics. I have one which I think is a very worrying statistic. It was a recent report that says by 2050, the UN has said that up to 5.7 billion people could be living in areas that experience water scarcity for at least a month in a year. What are some simple steps that viewers can take to contribute to the solution? Because these are some really scary numbers.
I think everyone must know that fresh water is a finite resource.
Yes.
And it's only, the whole water we see in the world, it's only 4% of that is fresh water. and out of that 2% is in the glaciers and the ice, and balance 2% is what we have.
Yeah.
So, being a finite resource, we need to really manage it very, very responsibly, and see that how we conserve the freshwater resource by not abusing it, but using it in a methodical way where lot of things can be replaced with the wastewater which is recycled.
Right.
So, in our consumption, if we look at fresh water being used only for human consumption, that is for cooking and bathing and drinking, and balance all the areas, we can use wastewater which can be recycled. Plus, the optimal use of water for every application, whether it is agriculture, because agriculture uses a huge quantity of water. Out of the fresh water available, 75% of the water is used by agriculture. Then comes the human consumption, and then the industry. So, in priority wise, we have to work on all the three sides to see how we can optimize the consumption of water in all these areas.
You said the word recycle, so I'll come to you with that point. Usually we talk about important to conserve, preserve water, but should we be instead shifting our conversation and talking about recycle, reuse water? What are some solutions for those? Is it now time to focus on recycle?
Absolutely. Let's start from our home. With the water we consume, 70% of the water goes waste in toilet flushing and bathing, right? Balance is what actually going in our body through cooking and drinking. So that's very little. So if we are able to limit the use of fresh water to only these applications, and the other applications are used with recycle, we will reduce the water consumption in a house by about 70%. Now that's the idea which we started promoting in early 90s, that we are as a country, our population is growing, industrialization is taking place, water is a limited source. Unless we start managing it, we will have huge problems, which we can see. It's already started.
It's happening now.
So, we are very fortunate that some of the states listen to us, and now there are legislations that if you make a housing complex with more than 50 flats, then water recycle and rainwater harvesting is compulsory. It's mandatory. So, same thing, 70% of the water is being recycled for toilet flushing, gardening, washing the cars and all that. And there are technologies available which we have also introduced in many other companies to treat this water and make it safe for these applications.
We've spoken about residential, human. I want to speak to you about industry now, because there was a time when it was assumed that if industry is implementing a solution process, it won't be environmentally sustainable. But I want to know from your experience, because I believe that now industry is also waking up to the fact that they need to be sustainable, more environmentally friendly. Are you seeing this coming in your experience, dealing with so many industries, so many corporates, where they are also implementing water saving or water recycling solutions that can help the ecology, the ecology, the environment?
Look at from 3 points on this side. One is availability of water. If you are putting an industry in an area where there is a scarcity of water, so the priority always goes for human consumption, and first thing will be the industry will be hit. And number two is the tariffs. The tariffs of the water are going up. So many areas, the water recycled water cost is lower than the water cost you're buying. So it makes sense to do this. So the third is the social obligation of the corporate. As most of the corporates are now going for ESG, right? So everybody is looking at long-term sustainability. And as a company, what you are doing about sustainability, your customer is looking at you. So many of these companies are now taken up this as a agenda for ensuring that water consumption is minimized,
Right.
the freshwater one. In fact, we call it water neutral. So you just don't consume any water. Second thing is the discharge of water. So if you don't treat water and you put the wastewater into a fresh water, you're polluting the freshwater resource, which has been happening for many years, right? So then we are treating the wastewater. You might as well recycle and you don't send that water outside. So in fact, the industry is now going up to zero discharge. That means water should be recycled and no water should go out. And we've been involved with the industry for many years, and we've done many of these ZLD plants which are working successfully. So there is all the three things. Legislation is becoming more strict. Limitations of water availability, and third, the industry itself is running this agenda of sustainability, where they want to conserve the water.
All of this also comes in through the help of R&D and innovation in all the research that is done in making these new systems that help clean the water. Globally also a lot of stuff is being done, but are you seeing in India, is it just those global solutions that are being placed in? Is India coming up with indigenous developed solutions? And what's happening in the R&D space in India with respect to water?
There is a lot of work being done even in India. I mean, IITs are doing, and there are CSIR institutes. Our own company in the private sector is also doing. We've been leading in developing products and technologies. And our R&D is there for last 40 years, 45 years, and we're developing many products to handle different contaminants in the water and make water safe. So technologies like desalination, which came in, we brought it in early 90s. Now it's becoming like a household, RO being put in the house. So there is a lot of work going on in the country as well as around the world.
Mr. Sharma, I want to talk to you, just taking this one more step ahead. So, nowadays, over the last few years, we've been talking about how every business is now a tech business. And of course, it's famously said, data is the new oil, etc., etc. How does technology, I mean, IT, is there a role that they can play in water consumption? I've heard of people installing water meters in homes. And is these some things conversations that you're seeing happening?
Yeah, I mean, just like the municipal water, in many of the cities, 30 to 40% of the water, they call it non-revenue water, right, is being wasted. Why? Because there are leakages, taps are remaining open, or some pipe that's leaking from somewhere or other. So now that the technology which detects the leaks, tells you in your control room where the leak is taking place, and you can get it attended. Second is the management of the water treatment plants. Today we are able to do remote control. We can get all the data, how the plant is operating, sitting in our room, and we can inform the customer if there is something going wrong or if there is some upset, and correct it. Otherwise you have to make a person fly all over, to go and attend the problem. IT is playing a big role, like preventive maintenance of the plant. So we implement full software which tells you of each component, what is the life of each component, when it should be replaced. So there is no sudden breakdown of the plant, and you have all the data available with you in terms of each component, what's its life, when it is to be replaced, when it is to be maintained. So like that, various initiatives are there for making the operational of the plant trouble-free, and also ensuring that there is no wastage of water and we minimize the waste.
Earlier in the conversation, Mr. Sharma, you spoke about rural India and about how it was cumbersome for people, troublesome rather, they would have to walk long distances to get water. So of course the challenges there are different from compared to what's happening in urban India. Are you seeing any interventions that are happening in rural India to help this importance of conserve and manage water there also in rural India?
Oh yeah, I mean this is the scheme for Har Nal Jal.
Yeah, Har Ghar Jal.
Yeah, so this thing is for largely rural
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and the sources are being identified, and the wells are being constructed. Then you're laying the pipelines, and we are also involved in one of the projects. But the challenge is wherever the water is good, there we can just take out from the ground, do the disinfection and supply to the house. But there are pockets in India where the groundwater is contaminated. It's contaminated with things like fluoride, dissolved iron, which are harmful for the health, nitrates. So again, you need a specific technology to treat that water and remove those ions and then make it safe for drinking. So that is also happening in many areas wherever there are these pockets of contaminated water. We have been working with the states to help them, resolve those issues. So, the other side of the rule is the agriculture, the amount of water which is used in agriculture. I think that's again a lot of initiatives are being talked to them about drip irrigation. How do you conserve the water? Also, farming patterns. So we really need to do a lot on that side as well, to see that the water consumption reduces. Otherwise, there will be over exploitation, and then you don't have the enough resource available. Third thing is development of watersheds. So to increase the availability of water, you need to catch the rainwater and ensure that it percolates down the ground so that enough water is available in our aquifers. So that we can continue with this cycle. Because if, as I said, 60% of the agriculture and 85% of drinking water is based on the groundwater. So unless you replenish the resource, you will keep depleting it, and finally you run out of it.
Exactly. That's the really important part, to replenish it.
Correct.
To ensure. And that's where I guess.
So you need to increase your storage. You need to catch the rainwater. See that through check dams and the water harvesting methodology. So I think all this is now getting. Some of the NGOs are leading this initiative, and most important thing, in my opinion, is to create awareness on this resource, that it's a limited resource. And make the community as the owners of the asset. So that they realize that this is our asset, so many people have to use it for so many applications. How do we optimize?
Mr. Sharma, there is one concern from a personal, like a layman perspective, I'm coming to you now. Industry, yes, they're doing a lot of great stuff because two-pronged. One is, yes, they can see the financial impact, and yes, of course, a lot of more businesses now are adopting the ESG principles. On a personal level, as an individual level, as a citizen of the country, there might be people who would want to do, but then sometimes they do get, bogged down or demotivated when they say, ek aadmi se kya hoga, ek aadmi ke karne se kya hoga. You, I'm sure, in your decades-long career in this industry, you must have come across many such instances. And especially today when we're talking on World Water Day, what's the kind of message that you want to give out to our viewers as to kind of, like you just said earlier, to make them aware, to motivate them about this finite resource and the need to preserve it, conserve it, reuse it, recycle it?
I think the bottom line is every drop counts. True. So I think each one of us, we get used to certain habits, and it doesn't strike us when we're doing those things. But whether you're brushing your teeth or whether you're shaving, the tap is on. There's no need. So all those savings, if everybody is doing it, that can amount to a very large quantity. Second thing, as I said, especially in the housing context, whether it is your individual house or you're in a society, if we can recycle the wastewater, so that itself will save about 70% of the fresh water. I think there is a little bit of awareness now starting in the schools.
Yes, yes.
They have subject of environment, and the water is one of the areas. So from that level to the community level, if we create that awareness, I'm sure people will be more involved and will individually would like to take all the steps necessary to see that their sustainability and their future generation sustainability is not impacted because of waste of this natural resource.
Before we close the show, Mr. Sharma, any last thoughts that you want to add on to the conversation that could be addressed to our audience as we wrap up?
Well, as I said, the fresh water is a very finite resource, and we have a lot of alternate sources which are being now used. One is the wastewater, which is being treated and recycled, right from housing complexes to industry. There are cities where they are saying that now you take sewage, treat it and run your industry. So there are already some plants which are operating on sewage water.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, in Chennai it is already happening. Chennai petrochemicals is half of the water comes from sewage. One of the power plants we designed is on sewage water, and now the government has directed that most of the power plants which use lot of water, fresh water, should take the sewage from the next city, the closest city, and use that in their power plant. So this awareness is going up, and I think that these sources, which is alternate sources, they should be used. Second biggest alternate source is the seawater. So now the desalination of seawater is another source. All the coastal cities are now going for the desalination, and that is the source, and the cost of that is going down. So we have, as a company, have been involved in this solution, providing solution for industry and communities. And we are integrated whatever is possible to see that we are able to make these solutions more cost efficient so that people can use it.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for talking to us and for highlighting and for sharing these very important points about water and how we can take simple steps to make life better for us and, more importantly, to preserve this finite and irreplaceable resource. Well, that's all on this very special show. Ion Exchange presents Water Act Today for Tomorrow, partnered by ET Now. And I hope you, just like me, are taking home some minor points that can make a major difference in our lives. Thank you so much for watching.